Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Jai Radha Madhava Gauda Premanandi. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa. Pari Vradhika Sadhastu Tarasutta Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Silaboy Charanaranda Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Gandhi BC Founder Sharia Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Jaini Tagore Pivanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Sadakaya Taksurandritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuktale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurung Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Tadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kancana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastatraya Sabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nisreya Sayalokasya Danyam Swasyaya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vachanam pangum langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinasaram. Yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinasaram. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We continue reading from canto number 2, which is chapter 6, titled Purusha Sukta Confirmed, and I think 21.
Yes,
21. Triti Vichakrame Vishwan Sashana Anashane Ubhe Yad Avidya Cha Vidya Cha Purushas Tu Ubhaya Ashrayaha Sriti Vichakrame Vishwan Sasana Shane Ubhe Yada Vidya Savidyacha Purushas Tu Bhayasraya Sriti Vichakrame Vishwan Sasana Nashane Ubhe
shane ubhe.
Yada vidya cha vidyacha
Yada vidya cha vidya cha
purushasatu bhayashriyah
bhayasya.
Sriti vichakrame vishwan
Sriti vichakrame vishva
sasana nashane ubhe
shasana shane ubhe.
Yada vidya cha vidyacha
Jnana vidya cha
purushasatu bhayashriyah
purushastu bhayashraya. Sriti vichakrame vishva
Sriti vichakrame vishwan
shane ubhe.
sasana nashane ubhe
Yada vidya cha
Yada vidya cha vidyacha
purushastu bhayashraya.
Purushastu bhayashrayah
Sriti vichakrame vishva
Siti vichakrame vishvan
nana shasana shane ubhay.
sasana nashane ubhe
Yada vidya cha
Yada vidya cha vidyacha
purushastu bhayashraya.
Purushastu bhayashrayah Sriti Shriti vichakrame vishwan
Shasana
sasana nashane ubhe Yada vidya cha vidyacha Purushastu bhayashrayah Sriti the destination
the destination
of the living entities
of the living entities.
Vichakrame
Vichakrame
exists comprehensively.
exists comprehensively.
Vishwan,
Vishwan,
the all-pervading
the all-pervading
personality of Godhead.
personality of
Dasana,
Godhead. Shasana,
activities
activities
of lording it over,
of lording,
of lording it over.
of lording it over.
Anashani,
Anashane,
activities
activities
in devotional service.
in devotional service.
Ubhe,
Ubhe,
both, both.
both.
Yet,
Yet,
what is
what is
avidya,
avidya,
nescience,
cha,
cha, as well as
as well as
vidya,
vidya,
factual knowledge,
actual knowledge.
cha,
Cha,
and
and
Purushaha,
Purusha,
the Supreme Person,
the supreme person.
too,
Two,
but
but
ubhaya,
Ubhaya,
for both of them,
but both of them.
Asrayaha,
Ashraya,
the Master.
the master.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
By His energies, the all-pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. He is the ultimate master of both nescience and factual knowledge of all situations. Kindly repeat after me. by his energies,
by his energies,
the all-pervading
the all-pervading
personality of Godhead
personality of Godhead
is thus
is thus
comprehensively
comprehensively
the master
the master
in the activities
in the activities
of controlling
of controlling
and in devotional service.
and in devotional service.
He is the ultimate master
He is the ultimate master
of both nescience
of both essence
and factual knowledge
and actual knowledge
of all situations.
of all situations.
Purport. The word Vishwan is significant in this verse. One who travels perfectly in every field of activity is called the Purusha or Kshetragya. These two terms, Kshetragya and Purusha, are equally applicable to both the individual self and the Supreme Self, the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 13.3, the matter is explained as follows. Kshetragyam sapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragnayor gnanam yat taj jnanam matam mama. So that is from 13.3. Just read the translation here. 13.3. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Kshetra, kshetragya. Kshetra, field. This body is described as kshetra, field of activity. And the jiva is in the body. The jiva is in this field of activity. So we are knowledgeable about what is going on in this body. If we have a headache, some disturbance, we feel pain. When I have a headache, you don't feel pain. And when you have a headache, I don't feel your pain of headache. That's because the jiva is only in this body. And the jiva is from the top of the head to the end of the toe. If I bump my toe on a chair, I feel pain. If something falls on my head, I feel pain. Everywhere in my body, I am conscious. So this verse is mentioning that Krishna, he is present in all the bodies as super soul. So therefore he understands everything about all living entities. He is described as all pervading. All pervading means omnipresent. Omnipresent means present everywhere. So he is he is also Kshetragya of all the kshetras, of all the. So Prabhupada continues here in the purport. Kshetra means a place. Just like if somebody is a farmer, he has a field. If somebody comes to work in his field, that will not work. His field may be 1 acre. He works in his field. That is his kshetra, his place. And kshetragya, gya means knowledge, one who knows about this field, one who owning this field. So kshetra means the place, and one who knows the place is called the kshetragya. The individual soul knows about the limited field of activities. Our kshetra, our field is very limited. But the Supreme Self, Paramatma, the Lord, he knows about the unlimited fields of activities. Yeah. The individual soul knows about his own thinking, feeling, and willing activities. Yeah. But the super soul or the Paramatma, the supreme controller, being present everywhere, knows everyone's thinking, feeling, and willing activities. That is why we cannot hide anything from Krishna. If I go in my room and I lock the door, no one here knows what I'm doing there. But Krishna knows. Because Krishna is following the living entity. He is present always. Therefore, he is described as he is the witness of all of our activities. Yes. And as such, the individual living entity is a minute master of his personal affairs. Yeah. We are only responsible for our personal affairs. Whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a master of everyone's affairs, past, present, and future. Vedaham samatitani, etc. So that means that our consciousness is very limited to this body. And we don't remember previous body. Arjuna could not remember that he was present with Krishna. Krishna told Arjuna, I spoke to the sun god, you were there, but you don't remember. Yeah. That is the difference between the jiva, small living entity, in Krishna. Jiva changes body in the material world. Krishna does not change body. Changing body means we forget our previous life. Yeah. Then Prabhupada continues, only the ignorant person does not know the difference between the Lord and the living entities. Yes. Ignorant persons means those who are not reading Bhagavad Gita, those who don't know about spiritual subject matters. So that is mentioned also in the Bhagavad Gita how real knowledge means to know about matter and spirit, and spirit means to know the difference between the individual jiva and the Supreme Lord. Yeah. The living entities, as distinguished from incognizant matter, may be qualitatively equal to the Lord in cognizance, but the living entity can never be equal to the Lord in full knowledge of past, present, and future. So we discussed the other day how living entity is also Satchitananda. We are also eternal, having knowledge, Chit, but our knowledge is very limited. Yeah. Especially when we are in the material world, conditioned by the modes of material nature. And to continue in the purport, and because the living entity is partially cognizant, he is therefore sometimes forgetful of his own identity. Yeah. So because we don't have full knowledge, sometimes we forget our actual identity. This forgetfulness is specifically manifested in the field of the ekapad vibhuti of the Lord, or in the material world. So the special feature or characteristic in the material world is that majority of living entities tend to forget who they are. We forget our real identity. But in the tripad vibhuti field of actions, or in the spiritual world, there is no forgetfulness by the living entities, who are free from all kinds of contaminations resulting from the forgetfulness state of existence. So in the spiritual world, no one forgets about Krishna. And because they don't forget about Krishna, therefore their consciousness is always pure. But in the material world, the more we forget about Krishna, the more we become impure. Yes. So that means that to again purify our consciousness, we must always remember the Lord. We must remember our actual identity. we must remember our identity and act on that identity and act in accordance with our actual identity, isn't it? Yeah. So that means that someone who's a devotee, he's always mindful. Mindful. What is the meaning of mindful? Mindful means attentive. Mindful. Mind means the mind, and full. The mind is fully engaged in Krishna's service. Yes, mindful. Otherwise, we are forgetful. So we have a choice to be mindful or forgetful, full of forgetfulness. So if we want to be happy, we should become more and more mindful of Krishna, mindful of our duty, of our responsibility. Yeah. Mindful and forgetful. Mm. And let's see. The material body is a symbol of the gross and subtle form of forgetfulness. The material body is a symbol of gross and subtle forms of forgetfulness. Therefore, the whole atmosphere in the material world is called avidya, or nescience, avidya. Isn't it? Whereas the whole atmosphere in the spiritual world is called vidya, or full of knowledge. Raja Vidya, isn't it? Krishna in the 9th chapter is speaking about Raja Vidya. I am revealing to you this king of knowledge, topmost knowledge. So therefore, Shastra means giving us vidya, knowledge. Yeah. There's two kinds of vidya. What are the two kinds of vidya in the Shastra? One is called Paravidya. What is Paravidya? Paravidya means transcendental knowledge. Shastra is divided into what we call Shruti and Smriti. Shruti, what is heard directly from Krishna. The Vedas are spoken by Krishna to Lord Brahma. That is Shruti. That is Paravidya. And Shastra, there is another kind of Vidya that is called Aparavidya. What is Aparavidya? Aparavidya deals with knowledge of this material world.
సో అపరివిద్య అనేది ఈ యొక్క భౌతిక జగం యొక్క గురించి మనకు కొన్ని విషయాలు చెప్తున్నాను.
So, to understand properly about
దీన్ని అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి.
spiritual nature and material nature,
ఈ భౌతిక విషయం యొక్క ఆధ్యాత్మిక గురించి.
to understand what is paravidya and aparavidya,
సో ఈ అపరివిద్య
therefore we must read Shastra.
ఖచ్చితంగా శాస్త్రాన్ని చదవాలి.
Because in Shastra, both paravidya and aparavidya, they are connected with Krishna.
కృష్ణుడికి సంబంధించిన కృష్ణుడికి
Any knowledge that is not connected with Krishna,
కృష్ణుడికి అనుసంధానంగా లేదో ఆ జ్ఞానం
that becomes avidya.
సో అది చెప్పబడుతుంది అవిద్య అని చెప్పబడుతుంది.
Avidya means nescience or ignorance.
సో అవిద్య అంటే ఏంటంటే కృష్ణుడి గురించి తెలుసుకోలేదు.
Yes. So Prabhupada is speaking here about avidya. There are different stages of avidya, and they are called dharma, artha, and moksha. Okay, just a little bit before that. So Prabhupada is speaking about the material world is a symbol of gross and subtle form of forgetfulness. Therefore, the whole atmosphere of the material world is called avidya, or nescience. Whereas the whole atmosphere of the spiritual world is called vidya, or full of knowledge. That is the difference between material world and the spiritual world. Material world is avidya. Spiritual world is vidya. But if in the material world we can also cultivate vidya. How to cultivate vidya in the material world? Three ways. Three ways to cultivate Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Whatever Guru is speaking, it is Shastra. Yeah. Whatever Sadhu are speaking, it is from Shastra. Yes. So in this way we can cultivate knowledge. Then Prabhupada speaks about different stages of avidya. And he refers to them as dharma, artha, and moksha. How dharma can be avidya? Dharma we think is Sanatan Dharma. How Sanatan Dharma can be? How Dharma can be avidya? Because there is what we call materially motivated dharma, material dharma. Yes, there are many kinds of dharma. So those materially motivated dharmas, that's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is rejecting those types of materially motivated dharma. That is Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam saranam braja. Yes. So Krishna is not rejecting dharma, but he's rejecting what is contaminated or impure dharma. Yes. Okay, just to carry on here. So, the idea of moksha or liberation held by the monists in the matter of oneness of the living entity and the Lord by ultimate merging in one is also the last stage of materialism or forgetfulness. So that type of moksha advocated by the monists, that is also contaminated. Knowledge of the qualitative oneness of the self and super self. Knowledge of the qualitative oneness of the self and super self is partial knowledge and ignorance also, because there is no knowledge of quantitative difference, as explained above. Means if one only understands about jiva and super soul, without understanding the difference between Atma and Paramatma. Just like Mayavadi, they believe in God. They believe that they become God or merge into God. They're missing or not understanding the qualitative difference between God and themselves. So it means we need to have simultaneously, we need to understand the difference between qualitative qualitative oneness and quantitative difference. In quality, we are one with Krishna, but in quantity, we are different. The individual soul can never be equal to the Lord in cognizance. Otherwise, he could not be placed in the state of forgetfulness. So, jiva can never be equal to Krishna. So because there is a stage of forgetfulness of the individual selves or the living entities, there's always a gulf of difference between the Lord and the living entity, as between the part and the whole. Jiva is angsha, mamai vangsho jiva loke. So therefore, those who are advanced devotees, the pure devotees of the Lord, actual pure devotees of the Lord, they understand how great is the Lord and how small or insignificant is the living entity. So the part is never equal to the whole. So the conception of 100% equality of the living entity with the Lord is also nescience. Yeah. Okay, last paragraph. In the field of nescience, what is the field of nescience? Means in the material world. When material world is, as Prabhupada explained, that world of forgetfulness. Yeah. So in the field of nescience, activities are directed towards lording it over the creation. Lording it over the creation. Yeah. We are forgetting about, when we forget about Krishna, we forget our subordinate position. And living entity tries to independently enjoy the material world. Yes. And because our position is not Purusha. Purusha means the enjoyer. Therefore, we become frustrated in the material world. In the material world, therefore, everyone is engaged in acquiring material opulence to lord it over the material world. That is the main activity of majority of people in the material world, working very hard to acquire material opulence. We see people working hard to make money, thinking we will be happy by making money. Therefore, there's always clash and frustration, which are the symptoms of nescience. Yes. So there's a lot of clash and a lot of frustration today in the material world. Practically everywhere we can see very fighting and conflicts, so many conflicts. Because of our forgetfulness of Krishna. Yes. So the more there is conflict, the more this indicates our forgetfulness of Krishna. But in the field of knowledge, there is devotional service to the Lord, bhakti. Yeah. Those who are understanding and remembering their position as eternal servants of Krishna, they engage in activities of bhakti. And so the activities of bhakti, the symptom of pure bhakti is that the conflict and differences are minimized. There is less or no conflict for those engaged in devotional service. Therefore, there's no chance of being contaminated by the influence of nescience and forgetfulness of vidya in the liberated stage of devotional activities. So question will be, why sometimes we see those engaged in devotional activities, also there is conflict. Then it means they are still not yet engaged in pure devotional activities. The Lord is thus the proprietor of the fields, both of nescience and of cognition, and it remains the choice of the living entity to exist in either of the above regions. This is, Krishna is giving us every day. Every day we have this choice to be forgetful of Krishna or to be mindful of Krishna. The more we are forgetful of Krishna, more problems. More unhappiness, more suffering. So if we want to be more unhappy, if we want to suffer more, we should forget Krishna more. But if we actually want to be happy and avoid conflict with other living entities, then we learn to become mindful of Krishna. And the last, I'll just read that last line again. The Lord is thus the proprietor of the fields, both of nescience and cognition, and it remains a choice for the living entity to exist in either of the above regions. So that is every day, every minute of the day, actually, we have to make such choices. We'll read the text again here, text 21. By his energies, the all-pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. He is the ultimate master of both nescience and factual knowledge of all situations. So, any questions?
You explained that Maharaj, due to
forgetfulness.
No. These conflicts between the two devotees.
Conflict, yeah.
The situation will be become very
difficult.
Difficult.
Yeah.
So how should we avoid that?
How should we avoid the conflict? By becoming pure devotees. Yeah, by becoming more advanced. The more we are what is called materialistic materialistic devotee. There is kanista, madhyam, uttam. Kanista bhakta. We all begin at the kanista level. Kanista means materialistic, materially motivated, not yet purified. So to avoid conflict amongst devotees, we need to increase our level of purification. The more devotees are elevated, purified in consciousness, the less there will be conflicts between them. And the more we are motivated, the more we are contaminated, then there will be these different levels of conflict between devotees also. Yeah. So that is a sign actually of a neophyte and advanced devotee. Advanced devotee will avoid, because of his level of consciousness, higher consciousness, he will avoid any kind of conflict, because we are always dealing with devotees who are at different levels of consciousness. We are dealing also with those who are non-devotees. Non-devotees, their level of consciousness is less. But even amongst devotees, there are differences. So therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami, in the Nectar of Instruction, he nicely explains that therefore we should choose our association. We should avoid the association of those who are less serious in practicing Krishna consciousness. And we should seek out the association of those who are more committed, those who are more advanced, those who are more purified in consciousness. So Prabhupada explains we should, as quickly as possible, come to the Madhyam Adhikari. This Kanishta Adhikari level is dangerous. Dangerous means not secure. On that level, we more easily make offenses because we are not fixed in understanding. We don't have proper knowledge of Shastra, isn't it? And also we don't have strong faith or conviction of Krishna consciousness. So Madhyamadikari platform is that more elevated platform where we become very strong in our conviction, and that is called the preaching platform actually, where we differentiate between who is a devotee. We associate with those who are on similar level. We associate with such devotees, and then we, with those who are more advanced devotees, then we hear from them, we serve them, isn't it? And with those who are still not knowing about Krishna consciousness, we try to induce them to take to Krishna consciousness, those who are innocent. And then those who are nastic, we stay away from them. Those who are against the concept of God consciousness, we stay away from such persons because they will often blaspheme. We may try in some ways to, by giving someone prasadam, for example, who we know may be not believing in God. There are different types of people. Some people, they will be very much against the idea of God. They will blaspheme. They will become very intolerant, and they will start to criticize. They'll criticize Shastra. They'll criticize Krishna. They'll criticize devotees. They'll criticize why you're walking around a tree. They'll see. They'll criticize in so many ways. So we should keep our distance from such persons. Otherwise, they will unnecessarily become agitated and make all kinds of offenses. Yeah. So that comes by continuing to apply the process slowly, gradually. More clear understanding automatically will come. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Ashubhairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam. Causeless knowledge and detachment is a natural consequence of applying ourselves in the process of devotional service. Okay, any other? Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Gaur Pimanam.
Jai.